For Pete's sake!
What did you say?
Oh, forget it.
Viewer discretion is advised. Go where no man has gone before.
In your face. It'll knock your socks off.
Broadcasting live from 55-degree, somewhat sunny downtown Cleveland. It's station WDWL TV, home of not one, but 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame and an Oscar. And as we all know, the flashing G and the flashing chair stand for your host, me, Grumpy. And we're brought to you by this idiot, Grumpy Vulture Productions. So, man, I'll tell you, I am fed up with goddamn attorneys that won't return phone calls. I'm trying to get a hold of this idiot that the state says is authorized to sign the title to this car. I have left 4 voicemail messages. You think he called me back? No. So, I am going to, tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, I am going to call his office. And if I get the voicemail, I will do the same thing I did the square trade. Every half hour, I will leave a voicemail until this dickhead calls me back. Oh, really? So, how's your day going, Kathy? Mine is filled with all kinds of fun. Then, I forget that when the high school lets out, the area is surrounded with police cars. There are police everywhere. I decide, right at dismissal time, to go for gas. I must have driven past 9 police cars. They were everywhere. And I'm like, holy shit, any minute, the lights are going to come on. Grumpy's going to get pulled over. Luckily, it didn't happen. So while I was fueling up, which is another story, a guy got stopped and they pulled into the gas station. So after the officer wrote this guy a ticket, I kind of wandered over and I said, can I ask you a question? And very politely, yes, sir, you may. I said, is that normal to have all of them police cars at the high school when it's dismissal time, he said, "Oh yeah." He said, "How many did you see?" I said, "Well, I think I counted 8 or 9." He went, "Oh, you didn't go behind the school." I said, "I wasn't looking for trouble." He said, "Oh, there were probably 6 more cars behind the school." I said, "Really?" He says, "Oh, yeah, we've been having some problems." Behind the school was the gang unit. I was like, "Really?" He said, "Oh, yeah, it's getting ridiculous." And I says to him, I said, "You know, I graduated from that high school before you were born." He looked at me. I said, "Yeah, 1970. He goes, "Yep, that was before I was born." I said, "You never saw a police car because there were never any problems." I said, "This is ridiculous." I said, "Is this daily?" He said, "Oh, yeah, daily. We have to be here sitting like babysitters watching these kids leave school." I said, "Well, you know, parents are different today." I said, "Back in my day, if you did something wrong at a neighbor's house," I said, "the neighbor would literally kick your ass. Then the neighbor would take you home, explain why he kicked your ass. Your parents would thank him, and then they would kick your ass. Not today. Everybody's kid is a little angel." And with that, I waited until he pulled out before I pulled out. Didn't want to give him an excuse to stop me. There was one, when you come, now, the street I live on, there's a Y intersection where 2 streets meet, and then the one street goes directly down to 130th. I came down and I go to make the left turn to go up to 140th to go to the gas station. There was one sitting by the stop sign across the way from me, and I was like, "Oh shit, here we go." Because I have one of these on the front, because Ohio now is a optional 1-plate state. So I have this on the front, and then I have my handicap plate on the back. I was waiting for him to pull me over and go, "How come you got 2 different license plates?" Because this looks, this is an Ohio plate. A phony Ohio plate. But it looks like. So I made a mental note, and I also put a note on the refrigerator. Do not go out shopping at 3:30 p.m. Wait until 4:30 when things are quiet. So, like I said the other day, my dumb ass waited until I got to half a tank to go get gas. So today, I decide to fill the tank. So I walked into the BP station, And I said, how much for 93 octane? $6 a gallon. $5.99 a gallon. That car sucked up $52 worth of gas. $52 per half a tank of gas. You talk about sticker shock. I'll tell you what. That tank will never get below 3/4. Every time I use a quarter tank of gas, I'm going right to fill up. Oh God, I've never paid that much for gas in my life. Oh yeah, that's what the manager of the BP station said. He goes, gas is probably going to be, man, he was talking 93. He said, you're probably going to look at $7.50, $7.75 a gallon here shortly. Of course, Mr. Big Hair could give a shit. He don't pay for gas. He's got a fleet of fucking 12 limousines. We're paying to fuel them things up. And I guarantee they get about 3 miles to a gallon. Because when I asked him how much a gallon, because, you know, they publish the cheapest price on the sign. I hate BP gas because I get shit for mileage, but BP is one of the few stations that do not put the incentive of 30 cents a gallon for a credit card. That's the only reason I go to BP. I get shit for mileage off of BP gas. But they don't do the premium. You know, if you pay cash or credit, same price. When he told me $5.99 a gallon, I said, you'd think I was driving a Ferrari. It's a little fucking Volkswagen Passat. But I have been told by a couple of mechanics and Volkswagen that I don't dare run cheap gas in that car. Because that engine is made for high octane only. Although I have a little spiral notebook. One of them little ones that goes in your pocket, you know, the spirals at the top. I record the date I bought gas. Of course, it's always 93 octane. The price, how many miles I drove, and then how many miles to a gallon. I flipped my little notebook open today, and I got gas on the same day last month. I couldn't believe it. At 4.8, 5.8, 9.3 miles to a gallon. I'm not driving a semi. I'm driving a little Volkswagen. And I looked last month, 9.1. I can't get over 9 miles to a gallon out of that piece of shit. And it's got new spark plugs. It's got new coils. Because the coil now, each spark plug has its own individual coil. It's got new coils. Got new plugs. Changed the fuel filter. I can't get over 9 miles to a gallon with that piece of shit. I believe it. I believe it. I don't know why I can't break 9 miles to a gallon. Maybe it's because I'm, putting around the neighborhood. Maybe it needs to get up on the freeway now and then, but I don't get on the freeway until I'm legal. Christ, I was getting 16 miles to a gallon with the shit box just puttering around town. Oh, go ahead, rub it in. What are you driving? You got to remember, I've got one of these high-performance turbocharged engines. And with a turbocharger, you should be getting better mileage. I don't understand what the hell's going on. I'm going to go up talk to Ryan tomorrow. And I'm going to show him, I don't understand why I'm only getting frickin' 9 miles to a gallon. It's part of it's got to be that shitty BP gas, because it's got 10% ethanol in it. Christ, you can't get good gas anymore. Now they're talking about boosting it to 15% ethanol. Which ethanol is like fucking water. Let's water down the gas. Oh, I like them cars. The guy up the street's got a new one. He's got a 2025, and that car, it's the front end of that Mitsubishi is stunning. It really is. It makes a statement. And Mitsubishi almost left the United States. How they were able to hold on, I don't understand. Because you don't see a lot of them on the road. But they were able to stick it out, although there's not that many dealers around Ohio. Because I remember back in the day, on Brook Park Road, there was a Mitsubishi Suzuki Isuzu dealer. And Isuzu, they left the U.S. Then Suzuki left, although somebody tells me Suzuki is back. I don't know. I haven't seen a Suzuki dealer. Because I even stopped a couple of weeks ago. The guy come out. He had it parked on the street. He come out and got in it. And I told him, I says, the front end of that car makes a statement, man. I said, I would love to own one. I would also like to own a Nissan Xterra, but I ain't buying no new vehicles. I'm sticking with my 25-year-old cars. And possibly a 40-year-old Corvette. I'm doing some real thinking on that. I didn't realize that car was that old. And nobody knows how long that car hasn't run. Because nobody knows if it ran when the flatbed dropped it in the driveway. Now, I can't picture Jim buying something that didn't run. But there's nothing on that car. Nothing. I mean, right now, if the Grim Reaper was to tap me on the shoulder, I have records on the RAV4, the shitbox, the Passat. I keep detailed. Of course, I'm OCD about this shit. I have detailed records. Oil change. Every time I fuel up. I got my new tires listed. I have a list of everything I had repaired. And then everything I repaired. I have a history on all of my vehicles. Nobody knows shit about this Corvette. Because Jim and his son weren't speaking for years. Matter of fact, he was shocked when he found out how many pieces of shit his father owned. In a way that the Corvette scares me. Although, it makes a good argument for a very cheap purchase price. Because I literally told his son, I might have to scrap this thing. And I would probably get less than what I'm going to pay you. But I know if I offer you scrap price, you'll refuse it. I could get this thing here and never get it to run. And have to scrap it. Then again, I could luck out, drain the fuel tank, put new fuel filters in it, put new air cleaner in it, put spark plugs in it, and it might fire right up. Hard to say. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to order a Chilton's manual for it. And do some studying. Although, it's a basic GM engine. It's the bottom of the line, small engine that they put in every other GM vehicle. But who knows? That car, maybe the last time it ran was 30 years ago. I don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody knows if it ran the day it got dropped in the driveway, and it's been sitting in the driveway for 6 years. So right now we know at least it hasn't run in 6 years. My Passat hadn't run in 4. So, I don't know. I'm trying to find somebody that is very knowledgeable on older Corvettes. We used to have a guy that knew Corvettes inside and out. And his name was Bob Ruth. And Bob knew Corvettes better than the factory. Because back in the day, and I'm talking like 1968, 69, a friend of mine had a Corvette. I think he had a 66. And it wasn't running right. And Bob Ruth only worked on Corvettes. He was a Corvette specialist. Don't bring him a Ford. Don't bring him a Jeep. Because he wouldn't even look at it. So, my buddy says, meet me up at Bob Ruth's. I need a ride home. I'm dropping my Corvette. That's okay. So I was sitting in the office chatting with Bob because he wasn't super busy. And my buddies pulled his Corvette into the garage. And he said, excuse me. And he yelled out to the mechanic, Jim or John, change the number 7 spark plug and spark plug wire. And I'm thinking to myself, what? The car just pulled in the shop. So the mechanic changed the number 7 spark plug and the spark plug wire, and the engine smoothed right out. And he told my buddy, that was your problem. This guy didn't even lift the hood. It drove in, and how he knew. It was like he broke it, you know. He just yelled out, change the number 7 spark plug and spark plug wire. And he told my buddy, just wait. So the mechanic gets a new wire, gets a new spark plug, fires the car up. Motor is as smooth as glass. He said, that was your problem. Take it home. It's done. It's fixed. And it was. I can't remember. There was a problem with the Corvettes. And Bob Ruth told GM, whatever this problem was, he told GM, you got a problem on every Corvette. And he went local, and then he called Detroit. And he talked to, I think, engineering, I don't know who he talked to in Detroit. And he said, you are building a car that has this certain problem. This is how you would correct it, because I correct it all the time. And the guy up in Detroit went, you're full of shit. We're not building inferior Corvettes. We have a plant, that's all they build, Corvettes. Bob turned around because somehow it got out to the dealers. The dealers, they told the dealers, like, hey, ignore this guy. He's causing problems. Ignore him. He don't know what he's talking about. So Bob Ruth, being the guy he was, sued General Motors. The case went to court, and Bob won. And he said, all I want is a newspaper story apologizing and admitting I was right. And a couple weeks later, in the Plain Dealer Automotive section, was like a whole page of an apology. And Bob had that framed, and he hung it behind his desk. And the article, the header was, GM admits Bob Ruth was right. And when he would call Detroit and say, hey, you know, your 69 Corvettes have this problem, they would correct it at the factory. It was amazing how this guy, he knew Corvettes every front to back, top to bottom, inside out. He ate, drank, and slept Corvettes. And I remember seeing that framed newspaper article. GM admits Bob Ruth was right. And that was all he wanted. He didn't want money, nothing. He said, I want a formal apology. Unfortunately, guys like that are gone. At one time, we had a little mom and pop garage down the street. I don't know if it's still a mechanical shop or not. The guy worked strictly on Chevys. That was all he worked on, Chevys. A couple blocks up from him was another mom and pop shop that only worked on Fords. You don't have those dedicated little mom and pop shops anymore. I'm trying to think of the name, because on his sign it said, like, Smith Chevy Specialist. And that was the only thing he worked on, Chevys. Even though Pontiac, Buick, Oldsmobile, they were all the same car. Chevy Specialist. And then we had Frank, I remember Frank Ford Specialist. That was his sign. Frank Ford Specialist. But Bob Ruth, everybody that owned a Corvette knew of him. If there was a Corvette meet, everybody, like one of the owners would go, "Yeah, Bob just tuned up my car." "Oh yeah, I know all about it." The whole Corvette society knew about Bob Ruth. But that day, when my buddy pulled his Corvette into the garage, and Bob paused the conversation and said, "Change the number 7 spark plug and spark plug wire." Never got near the car. And out of 8 cylinders, how did he pick number 7? I never asked, because I was in awe when they fixed number 7, and he told me, "But it's repaired, take it home, you're good." And he was. You don't find shops like that anymore. Of course, the shit they build nowadays, they build them planned obsolescence. And they build them out of crap. The perfect example is if somebody gets bumped and the bumper cover falls off, it exposes everything. If you don't have a front bumper cover on, your radiator's, everything is, because it's a cover. It's not a bumper. It's a cover. Behind the cover is the bumper. There was a, what the hell was that van today? Chrysler. There was a Chrysler van out in front of Mark's. The guy was waiting for his wife to come out with the groceries. And the back bumper cover was gone. And it is the ugliest looking piece of shit when you walk up, and because they go around and up along the sides, and when that bumper cover falls off, it exposes all the plastic behind it, and vehicles look like shit. Back in the day when you had a bumper, and if maybe you hit something and bent the bumper, either you drove it that way or you tried to straighten it a little bit. A bent bumper didn't look that bad. A missing bumper cover makes a vehicle look like shit. Like the Toyota van I saw several weeks ago. The whole front end was exposed. The whole front end. Because that cover comes up past the headlights to the hood and around the front. The front end looked like shit. And the bumper covers are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And they're nothing more than a big chunk of worthless plastic. And they're held on with snaps. No bolts and nuts. Snaps. Everything snaps in. Boom, boom, boom. And then I was watching a video it was titled something Pakistan Auto Repair, something like that. And here's something scary. In Japan, when they junk a car, and in Japan, a lot of cars get junked that are really still roadworthy. They're very particular about their vehicles. They go to a yard that takes off the axles and the suspension and the tires and wheels, and they put them on a pallet. Boom. Then they remove all the glass and put that on a pallet. Boom. Then they strategically cut up the car. And this is scary. They cut the roof off and they put it on a pallet. Boom. And then they remove all the seats and the dashboard and all the wiring harnesses and put it on a pallet. Boom. Then the vehicle is considered junk. Pakistanis buy these vehicles and they weld them back together. Not arc welding or TIG welding. No, basically brazing. The old with a brazing rod and a torch. They put the cars back together. They put a quick coat of paint on them, and they sell them. Evidently, they don't have any federal motor vehicle safety standards in Pakistan. I would hate to be in a collision with one of these vehicles that got brazed back together. Because you get hit and that whole vehicle will fucking self-destruct. Because brazing isn't like factory welding. But they buy these kits from Japan. And they reassemble them. Because it showed them, they had the bottom half of the car, and it was a 4-door. And they had cut the roof. They cut it about 3 inches above the dash on the A pillar. Then they come across, they cut the B pillar, and then they cut the C pillar. And they lifted the roof off. Well, they buy this kit. They set the roof back on. A couple of vice grips. Dum, dum, and they start brazing. They braze the A pillar. They braze the B pillar. They braze the C pillar. They put the doors on and they're like, oh, okay, they open and close. Put the hatch on the back. Dum, dum. Okay, it opens and closes. They run the wiring harness. They put the dashboard back in. They put the seats in. Carpeting if it has carpeting. And they sell them. They put a coat of paint on it. And they sell them. After they get done painting, they like pull them to the front of the repair shop and put a for sale sign on them. I don't know if people over there realize what they're buying. I would be deathly afraid to even drive that car around the parking lot, let alone out on the roadway. Because brazing is almost like super glue. But it showed them car after car after car putting these things back together. And it's ridiculous. Did you see that? I mean, no TIG welding, for structural strength. The guy's out there with a brazing rod. Okay. Brazing is like super glue. I can't believe they are allowed to do this. And it showed them car after car after car, because they'll bring 3 or 4 in and everybody comes out of nowhere. You got 37 guys working on a car. They put them back together. Give them a... Shit, they don't even have paint boots. They go in like a tent. Liquid overhaul. And then they put it out front for sale. Here you go. I would be afraid to even sit in that thing, let alone put a family in it and go out on the highway. And I told my buddy about it, and he was like, oh, you can't believe YouTube. And at the time, I remembered the name of the YouTube channel. I got it written down somewhere. And I said, here, watch this. And it shows them at the port, forklift, putting the car on the back end of a truck, goes to this body shop, and they reassemble the puzzle. And as long as the doors open and close and the engine runs, it's okay to go. I sometimes wonder, how long do they stay together before they start to break? Because that brazing, like I say, is like super gluing. It's not real welding. And especially with the newer vehicles that are using different steels, you need like a TIG welder or, an arc welder. Little braze job. It's back together. Yeah. Evidently, maybe I sent you, I don't know. Yeah, it was like a high school kid or a grade school kid. I know how to braze. Okay, come over here. Put this car back together. And nobody, when they welded the roof on, nobody, you would think they would have gone on either side, shook it, give it a bit of a test. No. They said, okay, roof's on. All right, let's see. The windshield fit? Oh, all right, the windshield fit. Put the doors on. Put the doors on. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, they open and close. Scary shit. And it was one after another. It wasn't like maybe 1 or 2 cars. In the video, there were like 6 of them lined up. And people come out of nowhere. But yeah, it was like a teenage kid brazing that car. I was like, oh my God, and they're going to sell this and somebody's going to put a family in it and drive cross country. Oh my God. You know, people hate all the safety shit because it increases the prices of the cars and it makes them easier to total because a car may get bopped in the front end where it is considered rebuildable, but once you blow all them airbags, it's a total loss because you can't buy a used airbag. Very rarely do you find cars in the junkyard that still have airbags. Most of them are all detonated. And the newer cars, I mean, the Passat surprises the shit out of me because I can't mount anything inside on the A-pillars. I have a switch panel that is designed to screw onto the A-pillar inside. It's a real nice. I ended up having to cut it down and reshape it, and it runs along the center console because I have airbags in the A-pillars. I also have airbags in the B-pillars. Now this is an '01. There are also airbags in the C-pillars. Now, the newer cars not only have airbags in all the pillars, they have airbag curtains that are above the doors that will blow down and out. You're basically in one giant inflatable balloon. When all them airbags detonate, you're in a cocoon. I was pissed off that I ordered this A-pillar switch assembly and I had to cut it up and figure a place to mount it for my fog lamp switches because I can't screw anything in because it says airbag. There's an airbag in the steering wheel. There's an airbag in the dashboard. There's an airbag in the A-pillar. Airbag in the C-pillar. And luckily it said airbag. There's a little sign, airbag. Because I was going to drill into the A-pillar to mount this switch panel. And I looked up and there's this little label. It says airbag. So I went to my Chilton's manual, and yeah, there's airbags in all the pillars, A, B, and C. I can't mount my external speakers for my CB because there's an airbag there. I couldn't mount the switch panel, airbag. I mean, in a way, I'm glad I'm protected. But the new cars are worse. I think I read like the Lincoln Navigator has like 22 airbags. When those all detonate, even if the car took a minor front end hit, that normally back in the day would be repairable, the airbags make it a total loss. And that's why nowadays, if you finance your car, they really get on your ass to buy what they call gap insurance. Because 90% of the time, you still have a balance due on your loan. Your insurance company will pay only up to X. The gap insurance covers Y and Z. If you don't have it, 90% of the time you're stuck with $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 that you still owe on something that's scrap. It is scary. And thank God that hopefully the Passat will give me a long enough life that it's the last vehicle I'll have to buy. Because it's going to be hard for me to find good condition 99s, 2000s, 01s. I don't want anything really too much newer than this. I really don't. Because every year they get worse and worse and worse and worse. At least I can still do 70% of the repairs on this car. The new ones, although what's amazing, this is one of the few 01 that has a full-size spare and a jack. I was shocked when I opened the trunk and I lifted the thing that covers the spare tire and saw a full-size spare. I was like, wow, that's something you don't see today. You don't even see a donut today. You get an air pump, an inflator. Well, a lot of good an inflator does if you blow a sidewall. You call a tow truck. See, cars today are built to the point the manufacturers don't really want you touching them. You don't get a jack and a spare because they don't want you taking a wheel off. They want you to take it to the dealer. There ain't no dealer seeing my Volkswagen. Shocking. Another thing that was shocking, nice, you like this segue? Watching this Japanese Food Network channel, or YouTube channel, not Food Network, Food channel. And the YouTube channel is called Japanese Food Noodles. That's the YouTube channel. Japanese Food Noodles. And this guy does reviews on all these little tiny hole-in-the-wall food shops throughout Japan. Now, there are some restaurants, but most of them are like 8 or 10 seat, like little diners. And the portions, holy shit! These little places give out portions that would feed a family of 3. And it's amazing to watch these people of all sizes eat all that shit. I was shocked. And it's not just one or two plates, all of them. The portions are huge. Oh, I'll tell you what, watching all these videos the last couple of days make me want to go up to the Chinese restaurant and order some food. I can't believe the size of the portions. I mean, they come out with pork cutlets that won't even fit on a plate. And then they stack all this shit. You know, you got soup noodles and they put a pork cutlet over the top. And then they put fried egg over the top of that. And then they stack it full of noodles and green onions. It comes out about 1.5 feet tall. And these people polish this shit off. Of course, to leave anything really is insulting to the owner. And you will see 99% of the people literally empty every dish. There was one today. Oh, I meant to, oh shit, I wanted to send it to you. They had 3 different size portions. They had regular, large, and one they called mega. And this fucking bowl had to be 14 inches in diameter. The bowl was fucking huge. And they piled food into it about 1 foot tall. And it was amazing watching people eat and empty them fucking bowls. I mean, the pork cutlets or the chicken cutlets are the size of a plate. In this mega, they put 2 of them in there. And then they put, you know, a whole pickled egg, and that mega bowl would have filled and fed a family of 4 easy. It was a Japanese truck stop. That's what it was. A Japanese truck stop. And to watch these truckers eat these mega bowls, because there were 3 truckers that came in together, and they all ordered the mega. And the girls that were doing the prep work were like, we've never had 3 order in a row. And when they put the bowls down, the truckers were like, holy shit, it is mega. Oh. Oh, yeah, well, that's part of the culture. You don't just dump a bunch of shit on a plate. You design it. That's one thing I really like. When they plate the food, they put pride in the way they plate it. Every noodle's got to be the certain way, and yeah. But the portions, holy shit. And to watch some of these little Japanese women come in that weigh about 90 pounds and kill all that food. But I couldn't eat that shit for breakfast. And that's what they're eating. Oh yeah, you pay $6 for a Whopper, and over there, you get a feast that's big enough to feed 2 people. It's amazing. The prices were very impressive. For the amount of goddamn food, I don't know how these restaurants make a profit. And then a lot of the restaurants, you had free refills on rice, and every restaurant was bitching that the price of rice has gone sky high. I'll tell you what, I would love to have one of them goddamn pork cutlets the size of a plate. The portions are shocking. They really are. And, you know, you look at the menu and it said, like, the pork cutlet yakisoba bowl, 1,200 yen. And you're thinking, 1,200 yen? Holy Christ, that's expensive. And then the price, $5.30. Even their steak restaurants serving that Kobe beef, and there's one above Kobe. I can't remember the name of it. There's one beef that's where they like massage the cows. And even you go in and you get this big fancy steak dinner, and it's like $11. I am hooked on that goddamn YouTube channel. I think I've seen just about every little hole-in-the-wall restaurant in Japan. Oh, the one restaurant, I can't remember, you know, she sold out in 90 minutes. And she was cranking because people don't sit and bullshit, you know, like in American restaurants. Have a, you know, they eat, they get the fuck out. They eat, they get the fuck out. They don't sit and talk when they eat. And in an hour and a half, 90 minutes, she was sold out. She had like 150 customers in an hour and a half. In and out. Bing, 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 bing. She felt bad because there were still people in line and she had to hang the sign out closed because she was out of food. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. And most of these shops are run by like second and third generation. They pass them down through the family. Like the one I watched today. The kid that his parents turned the shop over to him. He was like 22 years old. And he's running this pretty decent sized restaurant, I'll call it. And he convinced his brother to basically quit going to college and come work with him. And here's 2 kids. One was 19, the other's 22 or 23, running this ultra busy little food place. Of course, you know, it showed Mom in the corner washing vegetables. You know, she comes in. I come in to support my kids, you know. I only work a couple hours. Oh, and I'll tell you what, another thing that impresses me, how spotless all these places are. You walk in and they shine. Everything is ultra clean, neat, orderly. There's a place for everything, everything in its place. And you're right, Kat, they like a well-oiled machine. One will be cooking, another one will be plating, another one will be serving. And it's bang, 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 bang. You know, the food turns out in such a rapid motion that the poor girl that's serving gets, kind of behind because, and the portions, Jesus. There wasn't one place that served a skimpy portion. I was amazed at all these little shops that just pile the food on. And how they make a profit, I don't understand it. And some of them, like a couple of the shops, the people show up at 3 o'clock in the morning to do the prep work. And by opening at 5 o'clock, they are ready to go. Everything is done. 300 pounds of marinated chicken, done. 200 pounds of breaded cutlets, done. Vegetables, all chopped. Everything hot, ready to go. Welcome the first customer, bang. Because they're well disciplined. Nothing like people running restaurants in America. I don't think there is one restaurant I've ever been to that runs like an Oriental restaurant. Now, the Chinese restaurant that I've been going to since 1969 when it opened is being run by the 3 daughters. Dad retired, the 3 daughters took it over, and it still runs like that well-oiled machine that Dad opened in 1969. And the food quality is still the same because Dad comes in every now and then just to check. It's been there since 1969, and I've got a taste for Chinese food so bad watching these videos. The name of the restaurant is called Dragon Towers. And it's in Cam's Plaza Restaurant, right at the corner of Rocky River Drive in Lorraine. You can Google it. I'm not bullshitting. It is, to this day, given a 5-star rating. But as a matter of fact, I remember going in that restaurant when the little kids were clearing tables. The girls couldn't have been 8, 9, 10 years old. Dad was training them from the start. I thought it was kind of cute because one was like 5 years old. And, Oriental kids, the pixies are ultra cute. And she'd be carrying a plate, over to her sister, feeling so proud that she was able to carry that plate. And how Dad got away with it because, well, I can't see anybody mean enough to call labor relations, child labor. But all the kids from 5 years old were trained how to work in that restaurant. And I literally saw the girls grow up. Now, the one went to college. And I think she studied business management. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if all three went to college. I know the oldest, because I used to chat with Dad while waiting for a takeout order. And I'd ask him how the girls were, and the one, I think she went to Ohio State. And of course, you got a degree in business management. Dad's real happy for you to take over the restaurant. But the three girls are running it today. And it's still outstanding food. And the portions are still like back in the day. And they were even busy during the pandemic, because they did just strictly takeout orders, but there were enough takeout orders to keep that restaurant afloat. Because I can remember there would be a sign in the window. They wanted you basically to call your order in and then wait in your car. And then they would call you when your order was ready, and it was one person at a time. They made sure that person went out the door before they called the next one and said, "Come get your order." And I'll tell you what, they must have had a shitload of takeout, because there were a lot of places during the shutdown, and even after, when things kind of loosened up, that went under. There's 3 mom and pop places right here in the neighborhood that are still closed because they lost their ass. But that YouTube channel, I love watching it. Because every little place does things a little different. They all have their followings and their regulars that, some come every day, some come 3 times a week. And it's just unbelievable how they all operate. I'm really impressed. I'm hooked on that YouTube channel. I really am. And I found it by accident. I was going down, you got everything on the side of the screen, and I see this Japanese food noodles. And I thought maybe it was about a Japanese noodle manufacturing company. Japanese food noodles. I clicked on it, and I was like, oh, it's all about little restaurants, little hole-in-the-wall places. There was one I watched today. One is strictly a fried chicken shop. All they do is fried chicken. Tons of fried chicken. You can't get stewed chicken or it's fried chicken. Dad retired, and the girls are running the fried chicken place. He got bored with retirement, so he built a building next door to the chicken joint. And he opened a fried fish restaurant. Well, it's a takeout. Both of these are strictly takeout. So if you don't want chicken, you go next door to Dad, who came out of retirement, and he does fish. And he does not fried, over charcoal. He does charcoal cooked fish. His main fish is mackerel. And what he does, he gets these mackerel and he splits them in half. He butterflies the whole mackerel and he charbroils it over the charcoal, and that's how he serves it. This whole charcoal broiled fish and a pile of rice. And both shops are super busy. And the fried chicken portions, they can't even close the goddamn takeout containers. There's so much chicken piled in these containers. Amazing. It almost makes me want to buy a deep fryer. And the one I watched just before airtime, this guy had a gimmick. His panko breading was infused with orange peel oil. His panko breadcrumbs were orange. And they were infused with orange peel oil. How he came up with this idea, but he got this panko breadcrumb company to do batches infused with orange peel oil. And he says people absolutely love the orange infused panko breading. And he is the only one doing it. He's kind of got like a patent. I don't know if anybody else could ever order them, but it was his gimmick. And how he came up with it, he didn't say. He just come out with these big bags of panko breadcrumbs. He goes, these are made especially just for me. And he was another one. His goddamn cutlet portions were freaking huge. Orange oil infused panko breadcrumbs. You got to admit to it, they got gimmicks. Although the one that really kind of turned my stomach, it was one of these little, I think they had 10 seats. Their specialty, what they are known for, that they have a huge following of regulars. Are you ready? Are you ready? Grilled hot dog curry. Grilled hot dog curry over rice. I don't like curry, let alone grilled hot dog curry. And it wasn't sausage, because the package said wieners. And she would cut them in half, and then she would make little slices in them so they would kind of expand. And she would grill a pile of hot dogs, wieners. And then, when they were done grilling, she put them in the curry sauce and had a hell of a following. One guy said he came daily for the grilled wiener curry. Blah! That one turned my stomach, because I've had curry. My opinion of curry, it tasted like something I had already eaten and regurgitated. Curry is nasty. My opinion. There might be many of you that love curry dishes. Grumpy is not a curry person, let alone grilled wiener curry over rice. I don't know how she came up with that idea, because it was a female proprietor that ran this little hole-in-the-wall place. Because they asked her, well, what's your special, what dish do people ask for all the time? And she probably said, it's my grilled hot dog curry. And I'm sitting here going, what? I even backed it up. Grilled hot dog wiener curry. And it showed her opening the packs of wieners, cutting them in half, then making some little slices in them so that when they cooked, they kind of expanded. And when she was done grilling all the hot dogs, they went into the curry. And she always made sure that there were, I think, 4 hot dogs per serving. Yeah, 8 pieces. 4 hot dogs. And people gobble that shit up like there was no tomorrow. Because I remember this one old guy, he goes, I come every day. The place has been open for like 5 years. I come every day. She's open 7 days a week. He comes every day for grilled hot dog curry for breakfast. She opened at 4 a.m. I can't see sitting down to a bowl of grilled hot dog curry at 4 p.m., let alone 4 a.m. That's her gimmick. And it worked for her. Going 5 years strong. My wonky cup. It perfect. It holds two. It holds 24 ounces. This mug. It don't look it, but it does. I pop 2 pods in. I have it set for 12 ounces. And it leaves me enough room for cream and sugar. And it's the wonkiest thing. It's not round. It looks like somebody dropped it before it went in the kiln. 50 cents. See, it's flat over here. It's not round. It's oval and it's flat right here. It's flat. Leave it to Marks. I can't believe some cup manufacturer called one of their buyers and went, hey, I've got these wonky cups. You think you could sell them in your store? I mean, the handle is kind of ugly. It's this big. And I can imagine the buyer going, yeah, how many you got? 10,000? Yeah, no problem. We'll take them. And then they sell them and idiots like me buy them. For 50 cents, hey, if I dropped it tomorrow, I wouldn't cry. But it holds, well, like, I would say 26 ounces. Because by the time I get the coffee, I put the cream, the sugar in. I can't imagine. I could see the buyer going, send me one. And the guy at the pottery place sends him one. And, oh, these wonky cups? Oh, they'll sell like crazy. Yeah, we'll how many you got? 15,000? We'll take them all. And then they put them on the shelf in the store. And idiots like me go, man, that's a wonky cup. I'll take it. Yes. I got this green shit from Homeless Depot. You pour it in the drain every night. It's a dark green liquid. You don't spray it or you pour it. So basically, bathtub drain, bathroom sink drain, kitchen drain, down in the basement, the one in the floor. They seem to be dissipating. The shit's working. Christ, it was $18 for that fucking bottle. I think the bottle was 20 ounces or something. I said to the guy, I don't want to buy the factory. He goes, well, you want to get rid of them, you got to use this shit. And I says to him, how long do I have to use it? At least 30 days. Which means I will have to go up and buy probably 2 more of these fucking bottles. But they seem to be dissipating. But yeah, when I lifted that duct tape in the morning, but that's, yeah. Matter of fact, the guy says to me, how did you determine? Because people don't know. I said, well, a friend of mine said duct tape the fucking drain in the kitchen and then look in the morning. And I lifted up the duct tape and a bunch of them flew out, and then I looked at the duct tape, and there were about 300 on it. I was tempted to put it in a plastic bag and go, look, these came out of my drain. But it was too ugly. Yeah. Matter of fact, the guy up at Homeless Depot said, how do you know you got drain flies? That's when I told him. I said, because a friend of mine said, duct tape the fucking drain and see what happens in the morning. And I said the duct tape looked like somebody shook a pepper shaker on it. He goes, there, this is what you need. Says on there specifically for drain flies. Okay. How much? $18 for this? He goes, take it or leave it. Okay, I'll take it. But it is working. And like he told me, the reason you go 30 days is to guarantee you have killed everything. Which means I will buy 2 more of these. Because he said, be liberal. Yeah, liberal. I'm liberal. But yeah, that's what it was. Matter of fact, the next morning I kind of paused. And I was like, let the duct tape be clean. It wasn't. It looked like somebody took it and shook ground pepper on it. Took a pepper grinder. I was like, oh, shit. So I took the duct tape immediately outside and put it in the garbage can. God forbid that I put it in the trash can in the house and the next morning there'll be more. But it is working. I bet you about spending that kind of money, but I have noticed, well, there's none flying in front of my microphone like they were the other day. I haven't had to cover my coffee mug. There's nothing dive bombing in my coffee. But there's some still in the kitchen. So I'm glad you gave me the hint with the duct tape. I was able to determine what the hell they were. I thought it was leftovers from that fucking bad potatoes. The guy said no. He said they don't necessarily. He said, I don't know how they get in the drain. But he said they live in the drain. And I said, well, I run boiling water down the drain. He goes, believe me, the eggs are like indestructible. And that's basically what this shit does. As it goes down the drain pipe, it supposedly kills the eggs. Whatever. I'll do it for 30 days. I won't be happy about paying for that shit, but it works. So far, it is working. Because I said to him, I said, well, can't I pour bleach? And he goes, nope. He said, it's something about their eggs. He said their eggs are like indestructible. He said you could drop an atomic bomb in the drain and they'll still But whatever this green, it looks like, it's like molasses. It's a thick, dark green, molassesy type shit that you liberally, because he told me, he says, make sure that it, so I, several times in a circle, pour this molasses shit in the drain. But it is working. Because I says to him, I says, well, if one bottle works, why do I got to do it for 30 days? He said, it's like people that get a prescription for antibiotics and the doctor says take them one every day for 14 days. And at the end of 5 days, my infection's gone. So you stop taking the medication. And then the infection comes back. He said, that's the reason you do it for 30 days. You make sure you kill everything. Have you ever seen that green molasses shit that I have to use? Yeah, that's what he told me. That's why you got to go for 30 days. Because if there is 2 eggs, they'll hatch. And he said, be your luck, it's a male and a female, and then there'll be more eggs. Yeah, this stuff is, it's like green molasses. Matter of fact, it comes like in a fucking ketchup container bottle. You snip the little top off and put the little top back on. But it says right on there for drain flies. I can't remember the name of it, but it's right there. Drain flies. You know, those eggs got to be atomic. That boiling water won't kill them. Because I told him, I said, I took a pot of boiling water and poured it down the drain. And the next day, he said, yeah, there's something about the shells on the eggs that this green molasses can penetrate. So I will, 30 days, I will I mean, like the other day, you know, they were landing on the microphone. I was like, what the? Now, I don't know if they landed on this side, but a couple of them had landed on this side. And I was like, you goddamn, don't smack the mic. But they're irritating as shit, especially when they commit suicide in my coffee. They're like, oh, look, coffee. Another one bit the dust. Oh. Are you hungry? I like the way he just comes in and sits and looks up at me with them big sad eyes. Oh, I know you're starving. You look like you're ready to collapse from hunger. Job of the gut. He sits with his 2 front feet and the stomach hangs out. Brr. Feed me. You look like you're overfed. Nope, oh, nope. Stay there. Yeah, when I start talking to him, then he wants to grab on the chair and stretch. Not my new chair. I'll kill you. Okay, I'll feed you.
That's it, I'm through.
All right, everybody. I have to feed Job of the Gut. Thanks for being here. It's been another fun night. And we will meet again right here tomorrow night. Yes, we will. We know where, right here. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Thanks for being here. And we will see you tomorrow night.